part 2. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, and it repeats, broken your vows 1,000 times. So you can sing this part, your vow, or you can sing the first verse with me. Vows 1,000 times. Here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Let's sing it one more time. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come.
Testing. You hear me? Hello? There's a New Jersey plate in the parking lot with the window open. There's a purse in it. So please, if you have a New Jersey license plate, go check your car. Okay.
Are we ready? Well, hello, everyone. My name is Billy Lewis. I go by he, him, and this is our coming out service. All right, I'm gonna read a poem by Adah O'Connor. So it's National Coming Out Day. Welcome to this joyful celebration. Bring your whole selves, your gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer selves, your drag queen, butch and femme, cross-dressing, nail painting, tutu-wearing selves, your genderqueer, gender fluid, agender, pansexual, quilt bag selves, and all the other identities that are and will be. And let's have a celebration, because joy is a rebellion too, and this church is queer. Queer and fabulous. Amen.
Hi, good morning. My name's Pam Swan, and my pronouns are she, her. We're happy you are here to join us today for this National Coming Out Day. Please join me for our chalice lighting words. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Linda Stenholm, and I go by the pronouns she and they. We're so happy you've joined us today for National Coming Out Day. Today we have our VUU LGBTQ queer community up here leading the service. We are honored to be here. We want to welcome you here today, whether you are lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, transsexual, straight, or however you identify. You are welcome here no matter who you are, where you come from, or wherever you are in your spiritual journey. We want to say hello to those joining us by YouTube, and especially my visitors. Any visitors that we have today are also very, very welcome. You are new, if you are new, actually, and it's your first time or even your second time joining us, will you please raise your hand or stand if you're able and brave enough? Anybody? Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Yay. All right. If you have a difficulty or a struggle that you're dealing with today, and if you'd like to talk to a trained pastoral care associate, Lisa Benign is in the sanctuary, and Dan Schulte is actually in the Pastoral Care Association video. He's available as a pastoral care associate for those of you online. Again, we hope you enjoy the service today. We also want to take a moment to lift our prayers up and our love and concern for all of the people in Israel and Palestine today and what they're going through. Again, we hope you enjoy the service today, and now let's celebrate National Coming Out Day.
The song we are about to sing was written as from a parent trying to explain to their child that some people love differently. At the time it was written, in 1991, we were far from gaining equality, and we were also still in the heart of the AIDS crisis. That makes this sweet little song just a little bit revolutionary.
There's this nice man, his name is Mark, he's always smiling. He's got this mom who comes on Wednesdays in the evening with soup so steaming. He shares his house with his friend Martin. They're not brothers, they're not cousins. My little girl wonders all about these men. I take hold of her hand and I begin. Home is where the heart is, no matter how the heart lives. Inside your heart, where love is, that's where you got to take yourself at home. Across the yard with Deb and Tricia with their tools and ladders and their room addition. My kid yells over, "Are you having a baby?" They laugh and smile and say, "Someday maybe." But through their doors go kids and mommies. Then don't. Funny how you don't see the daddies going. My little girl wonders about this house with no men. I take hold of her hand and I begin. Home is where the heart is, no matter how the heart lives. Inside your heart, where love is, that's where you got to make yourselves at home. Round the corner, here comes Martin. He's alone now, he tries smiling. He roams around his well-stocked kitchen. He knows that fate will soon be coming. My little girl wonders how he will live. I take hold of her hand and I begin. Home is where the heart is, no matter how the heart lives. Inside your heart, where love lives, that's where you've got to make yourself at home. Martin sits and waits with his windows open. His house is empty, his heart is broken. We bring him toys and watercolors. He loves to hear my little baby's stories. She's a gift I share, she's his companion. She's a string and a kite, she guides him into the wind. My little girl wonders who will care for him. We take hold of his hand and we begin. Home is where the heart is, no matter how the heart lives. Inside your heart, where love is, that's where you got to make yourself at home.
Good morning. My name is Kelsie McEntire. I use she, her pronouns, and I would like to invite all the kids up to join us for our Time for All Ages. If any of you have brought an offering for the children's offering, we have our beautiful wooden chalice down here. It has a lovely boa on it today. Showing the world who you are can be scary. Will everyone accept you? Love you? When I came out to my family, I was terrified, even though I knew that they would still love me. Not everyone has that privilege. And those of us who do have that privilege have it thanks to the hard work and selfless sacrifice of activists who have come before us. So I'd like to share some of their stories with you in this book written by Desmond is Amazing. It's very colorful. It's called Be Amazing, with pictures by Dylan Glynn. Hi, my name is Desmond. I'm a drag kid and an LGBTQ advocate. LGBTQ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and queer. When I'm not being just Desmond, I like to dress up as different characters of a different gender. This is called drag. My drag persona is Desmond is Amazing. I can be myself thanks to my parents who let me be me, and thanks to the very brave people who fought to make it okay for me, or anyone like me, to be whoever we want to be. Throughout history, people like me were punished, attacked, and discriminated against. They could lose their jobs, get arrested, or even killed for who they were. The Stonewall Inn was a safe space for LGBTQIA people in New York City. But police often came to shut it down and bully the people there. One day, the LGBTQIA community were fed up with the way that they were being treated, so they stood their ground, and word spread. For several days, the fighting took place at Stonewall Inn as thousands of people joined in to help support the community. The uprising became known as the Stonewall Riots. Everything changed after the Stonewall Riots. LGBTQIA people formed groups to fight for their rights, published newspapers, and organized parades and marches. Have any of you been to a pride parade? Miss Jenny has. They're a lot of fun. We look back on those who took a stand at the Stonewall riots as heroes who should be celebrated for giving us freedoms we enjoy today. One of these heroes was Marsha P. Johnson. She was an African-American drag artist, model, and activist. She was born in 1945, and though she enjoyed wearing dresses at age 5, her family had difficulty accepting her for who she was. She moved to New York City on her own after high school. Although she was often homeless and struggling, she was known for being bold, outspoken, and optimistic. Her goal was to see gay people liberated and free and to have equal rights that other people in America have. Marsha's friend, Sylvia Rivera, was a Latin American transgender activist. She was born in 1951 and knew from a young age that she was transgender. Although she looked like a boy on the outside, she felt like a girl on the inside. In 1970, Sylvia and Marsha founded STAR, which stands for Street Transgender Action Revolutionaries, and it was a group that helped homeless transgender youth. Today, her work lives on in the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, which is dedicated to supporting and providing legal services for trans people of color. Thank you. I, speaking of Desmond, first discovered drag, on June 28, 1970, the Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day March was held in New York City to celebrate the one-year anniversary of the Stonewall riots. It was the first ever Pride event, and thousands of people marched. This inspired marches all over the country, and today it's still celebrated worldwide. Desmond first discovered drag by watching the show RuPaul's Drag Race. Have any of you guys seen that show? Woohoo! RuPaul and the contestants were so beautiful and amazing, and Desmond said, "I want to do that." RuPaul brought the art of drag and LGBTQIA culture into the mainstream. He broke boundaries of what drag looked like and what drag artists can do. Desmond can be the character Desmond is amazing because of the hard work of generations of people in the LGBTQIA community, but there's still work to be done. The next generation of advocates, like you all, are ready to continue fighting for our rights, equality, and acceptance. Now, if the adults would please rise and form the Bridge of Love, we will sing the children out. Thank you.
Bright morning star is rising, bright morning star is rising, bright morning star is rising. Day is breaking in my soul. Rise up from morning slumber, rise up from morning slumber, rise up from morning slumber. Day is breaking in my soul. Rise up and hear your calling, rise up and hear your calling. Rise up and hear your calling. Day
Now's the time in our service we're going to center ourselves. And I'm going to take you on a little mental journey today. So I'd like you to get really comfortable in your chairs. Maybe put both feet on the floor so that you're grounded. Close your eyes maybe. I think you'll get more out of it if you do. And take a deep breath in and out. I want you to put the idea of coming out as a gay people aside for right now. And just think about yourself today, here, in more general terms. Think about you. And what would make you today go hide in a closet? Could it be that maybe your house is getting broken into and you need to go run and hide? Maybe there's a natural disaster and you feel safer there? Could there be a rodent that came in from underneath the door and you're terrified of rodents? Could it be that maybe someone in your house has threatened you? Or maybe you have an addict that is dangerously out of control? What does it feel like in your closet? Is it small and claustrophobic? Is it dark and creepy? Is it hot and miserable? Does it smell from an old pair of sneakers or a basket of dirty laundry? Try to feel and smell your closet now. How do you feel personally? Are you lonely? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel vulnerable? Maybe you feel safer there. There is no lock on that door to your closet. So what reasons can you think of that you would choose to not come out? Is it too risky? Too frightening? Too dangerous? Is there too much for you to deal with on the other side of that door? Maybe you feel like you have no other choice but to stay in that closet. You can come back now and open your eyes. That closet is what the majority of queer people are quite familiar with. I'm sorry for getting emotional. Some live in the closet for their entire lives. And we have a stat here that's just shocking to me. 83% of people globally that are lesbian, gay, or bisexual spend their whole lives in the closet from most people in their lives, or sometimes all of the people in their lives. So we now invite you to light a candle or add some water to the fountain or move a stone over here and think about someone in your life that has crossed your life that may have spent some time in a closet, and offer them some peace today.
with your sad eyes. Don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all in the darkness inside. You can make you feel so small. Show me a smile then. Don't be unhappy. Can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up, 'cause I will always be there to see your true colors shining through. See your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful. You can join us, and I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful. Like a rainbow. Ooh, like a rainbow.
Hello, everyone. Most of you probably know who I am, but if you don't, my name is Adah, and I go by she, her pronouns. So I was lucky growing up. I was exposed to queer people, and it was pretty normal for most of my life. When the first member of our friend group came out in middle school, there was not much of a reaction. None of us really cared, because so many of our classmates and friends were queer, and it simply did not matter to most of us within the younger crowd. It wasn't until high school that many of us faced our first backlash against queerness. It wasn't from our classmates, however, but it was from teachers and parents. One year, my very conservative Christian friend got a boyfriend, and all of us kids were just so excited for him. He knew, however, his parents would be much less excited, so he decided not to tell them. This led to him having a second phone, and multiple members of our friend group would pass the phone around so that his parents would not find out. Of course, after a while, his parents caught on, and it was made all the worse that he had been lying about it for months. It took a while for things to calm down, and my friend and I ended up meeting in the Starbucks to talk about the situation. At the end, I had a very awkward conversation with his mother about how she was struggling to choose between her duty to God and her church and her duty to her son. A choice which now, and at the time, seemed pretty obvious to me, but was not to her. Later on in college, a friend's parents kicked them out for being queer, but luckily ASU has emergency housing, and they were able to access that. As of today, I know at least 6 people in Arizona who are close friends who are currently trying to get out of their parents' house because they're struggling with being queer or have been kicked out and have had to move. I was lucky. I never had to be worried about being kicked out for being queer and knew that I always had support, so my coming out was never a big deal. I was, of course, out with my friends, as is most everyone, and then later to my family. But my involvement in the queer community was more often for the protection of my queer friends from their parents and from faculty, due to the fact that I was the one living in the safe environment. My personal journey began where it begins for many asexual or aromantic people in the community, thinking that we are bisexual or pansexual. For those who don't know, asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to anyone, and aromantic is the same for romantic attraction. Bisexuality is more than one attraction to more than one gender, and pansexuality is attraction regardless of gender, with pansexuality being a micro-label under bisexuality. Many asexual or aromantic people begin here due to the common confusion that zero attraction to anyone is equal attraction to everyone. We all eventually figure out, usually, that none is not the same as some. But this is where many of us begin. Once we figure that out, there are usually two common routes that people will go. The first is being, oh, I'm so glad. Everything in my life has made sense now. And the second being, oh, I'm so glad. Everything in my life has made sense now. This sucks. I was unfortunately the latter. I am, and always have been, a hopeless romantic. And the idea that I would never get to experience the magical fairy tale feelings that everyone talks about and you see in your friends' parents really sucked for a long time. And although I disagree with much of Kierkegaard's writings, he is completely right when he says the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly one that you will never have. But after a while, I learned to move on. I still won't ever get the magical romantic feelings or the surprise of falling in love, but I learned to be okay with that. Sometimes being queer sucks, and sometimes it's wonderful. And it really just depends. But hey, maybe in the future, I can host a wedding just for me. Thank you.
When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries.
Hi, I'm Ann Sebren. My pronouns are she, her. I was different than all the other girls in my 6th grade class. While I was listening to them talk about boys, I was secretly focused on my best friend, Carla. And that same year, when I discovered what the word homosexual meant, I recognized that what I felt for her had a name, that I had a name. By the time I was 16, I realized that having a boyfriend was not going to change what I already knew. I was a lesbian. Being a lesbian was a particular problem for me because of my Christian faith at the time. I grew up in the United Methodist Church in a very small town in Mississippi. And as I began facing the fact that I was a lesbian, was about the time Anita Bryant went on her national crusade against gay and lesbian people. If you don't know who Anita Bryant is, back in the 70s, she was a beauty queen, an orange juice ambassador, and an evangelical who went on a Save Our Children crusade in response to a local Florida ordinance against discrimination against gay and lesbian people. While I, like many adolescents, was beginning to form my sense of who I was, of my worth, of my place in the world, my father, a lay speaker in the United Methodist Church, began traveling around the state to preach Anita's message of condemnation. I remember being besieged with newspaper articles and television reports on her and others' views of gays and lesbians, and during this time, my life became one of intense terror and anger and pain. I did find my way to a few adult gay male friends who had taken me under their wing and gave me support within a very underground, hidden, paranoid community. So I would spend part of my life with my few gay friends, and then at home, at school, and at church, with my family, I would hear frequently the messages of Anita Bryant, the message that being a lesbian was sin, was sick, was criminal, and of course, that I would go to hell. My life was split in the middle. I felt I had two choices. The first was to be honest and truthful, honoring what my family and my faith had taught me as essential values, honoring the truth of what I knew about myself, and to go to hell. The second choice was to decide to be dishonest and lie, displaying the conformity that would apparently save me and send me to heaven. I came to a decision that no 17-year-old should have to face. With some courage and a good deal of inexperience, I made a conscious decision to be honest to myself and to go to hell. That decision had tremendous repercussion. Having made the decision to go to hell, it no longer mattered what happened to me, and so I acted out in destructive ways, being hurtful to myself, engaging in substance abuse, attempting suicide. All of those experiences stemmed from that decision and how I had accepted the belief that I was of no worth. I spent a lot of time in what back then were hidden gay bars, and more than once ran from the police raids, was attacked with my friends walking to our cars. In a demonstrable way, I was in hell. Years later, while I was in college, I had an experience that began to turn things around. The woman I was involved with at the time began struggling with her lesbianism and became born again. She called me to her dorm room, wanting to witness to me and pray, and all of what she said was, of course, quite familiar to me from my upbringing. But I listened, and I chose to pray with her. And in that moment, which I can only describe now as having had an experience of awakening, I experienced a profound change in my understanding of love and compassion. Compassion for myself and the pain I had been experiencing, and the realization that I was worthy of love as a lesbian. Compassion for those who don't understand, those who would harm me because they too have been harmed. A deep realization of shared pain with others who have been oppressed and mistreated simply because the majority reviews them as other. It was a beginning, and over time, I have come to more deeply understand that the way out of hell is to open the heart.
When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries?
Good morning. I am not going to tell you my coming out story. It did not go well. Suffice it to say that my girlfriend's mom outed me to my parents and what followed was a truly cringe-worthy evening at the Amato house, with my mother saying things like, "You know, Tricia, I have admired other girls' bodies before, but that doesn't make me gay." Ew. And my father suddenly needing to clean a handgun that I didn't even know he had. But here's the thing about coming out. Whether it's a pleasant experience or one like mine, it's not a one-time thing. You have to do it over and over and over again, your whole life. For many, this is a hard reality to face. Coming out to family and friends was tough enough, but now they have to keep doing it at work, at church, family reunions, other people's weddings. Anytime the question, "Are you married?" or "Is your husband here? I'd love to meet him," comes up in conversation. For some, like me, the repeated disclosure is fairly easy. In fact, I realized early on that coming out could be used as a superpower. You couldn't use my sexuality against me if I used it first. There were times when I could actually see someone deflate a little when I told them I was gay because their little secret about me was out in the open. One time, when I was working in the design department at a large catalog company, one of my coworkers was a very conservative woman with absolutely no sense of humor. One day, I had worked through lunch and missed my chance to grab something to eat. She said, "I have an extra TV dinner you can have. It's chicken fettuccine Alfredo." I replied, "Thanks, but I'm a vegetarian." She stared at me in disbelief, and then, after a second, asked me, "Well, is there anything else I should know about you?" Not missing a beat, I said, "Well, I am gay." At which time, she literally grabbed her chest and stumbled backward, as if she had just been hit in the face. As she fell into her chair, the whole department erupted in laughter. Not only were they shocked by her overboard reaction, they were also a bit surprised by my bold proclamation. That was one of the funny times. Most times are mundane because I really don't care about your reaction all that much. But what if you are a person who does care? Someone who is uncomfortable with the repeated process? Think about it. Every new job, every new coworker, every doctor, the ER, every new friend. When you're waiting at a restaurant for your spouse and the waiter says, "I will keep an eye out for him. What's he wearing?" It can be exhausting. So the next time somebody casually comes out to you, just remember that the 50th time can be as scary as the first.
When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries.
Good morning. One more, and then we'll be done. I hope you can sit through another one of these stories. My name is Bobbi Ryals, and I'm your worship associate today. My pronouns are she, her. It was 1 year ago today that I attempted my first public speaking endeavor as a new worship associate, right here in this pulpit. and I gave you my coming out story. Do you remember it? Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, today I'd like to go a little more personal into my coming out story. And I was going to say, because I'm not so nervous up here today, but I'm really nervous up here today. But anyway, I'm going to go a little more personal into it. In fact, I'm going to give you the blow by blow, just like you were in our living room. Here goes. That Richard Simmons is a queer, if I ever saw one. That Steve kid across the street, he has to be a homo. Do you see the way he walks on his toes? I think our waiter's a faggot. Did you see that stupid ring on his pinky finger? You don't want to take up golf, Bobbi. Have you seen those women? They're all a bunch of lesbians. These are just some of the things that I heard my father say. He was disgusted by and made fun of gay people for as long as I can remember. So when I told you that sweet story about my dad on Father's Day, and you had his beautiful picture up here, there's a lot behind that. My relationship with him was extremely complicated. My mother, unlike my dad, never expressed any hatred or even dislike of any group of people. She certainly was a product of her generation. She was born in 1927. But she just seemed to naturally have an open mind and an open heart. And thank God for my mom. I was very close to my mother throughout her life, and by the time I was 18, I'd come to figure out beyond a doubt that I was a lesbian. It didn't involve any sort of intimate relationship at all. It was strictly based on my attractions. But as you can imagine, I did have a burning desire to tell the person I was closest to, which was my mom. After all, it had been an internal struggle for me for a while, and I had finally pieced together the answer for what made me feel so odd for so long. The problem was, and it was a problem, I was raised in a fundamentalist church, very conservative, and the whole gay thing was not looked upon with favor. I still cringe when I hear the words, "We love the sinner, but hate the sin," because that was an expression used in my church when they talked about how we should deal with gay people. It was 1978, and the fundamentalist church I grew up in was state of the art. It was televised. It was a mega church of 4,000 plus congregants. And are you ready for this? They even had conversion therapy classes. I mean, they had it all. And this was in 1978. Conversion therapy classes are actually classes for gay people to voluntarily, I don't know anyone who would, but they did, go to that would teach them how to not be gay. So anyway, besides upsetting my mother by coming out, I also feared I might end up in a conversion therapy group if my coming out went sideways. I still lived at home, and I could totally see my mom and dad sending me to that class while they tried to pray my gay away. So alas, I felt the risk of hurting my mother and or ending up in that conversion group was far too great a risk to take. So I made a conscious choice to hide in the closet. Yes, it was small, dark, lonely, and boy did it stink, because I was a young lesbian and I had plenty of sneakers. By 1984, 6 years later, things had gotten better for me overall. I was now living on my own, going to a gay church, found a few gay friends, and even a partner. But at 24 years old, my first relationship ended in disaster after just 3.5 years. I felt extremely isolated and alone, and I yearned to talk to my closest person, my mom. But I couldn't bring myself to. However, here's where the story starts going downhill. However, being the woman that she was, she knew that something was bothering me. She could tell I was in deep despair. One Saturday when I was visiting her and my dad happened to be at work, she seized on the opportunity of being alone with me, and she desperately confronted me. "Bobbi, I want to know just exactly what happened between you and Jan. Your father and I have been discussing it, and we know something really bad happened because you just aren't yourself lately, honey. In that instant, my heart started beating so hard, I thought it would beat out of my chest. This was that moment when I would tell her I was gay, she would hold me while I cried, and everything would all be okay. But before I could answer, she said, "We've noticed that Jan is very masculine, and we think she's one of those homosexual types, and that maybe she made sexual advances towards you, and that's why you moved out. Is that what happened, honey? If so, you can tell me." I was stunned and scared. On the one hand, she missed the boat, but on the other hand, she was close, and she was seemingly opening the door to dialogue that I was aching to have with her. I looked at her and cried, "Good grief, Mom, I'm gay. Jan and I were in a relationship." I actually thought she knew and was just playing dumb to get me to come out. Boy, was I wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. And that was my day. That was my lesson in just how deep denial can run in otherwise smart and observant mothers. My mother lost it. She angrily snapped at me, "Just what do you mean by I'm gay and Jan and I were in a relationship? Bobbi, tell me exactly what that means." "Geez, Mom," I snapped back, "you know what it means." And that was the day that I broke my mother's heart. And that was the day that my mother's broken heart broke mine. She ran to lock herself in the bathroom, sobbing in a way I had never seen her do. The bathroom door slammed shut with a force that made the walls shake. It was clear to me that my mom was broken. I ran behind her, and when the door slammed in my face, I threw myself down on the floor in the hallway on the other side of that locked bathroom door, and I desperately tried to talk to her for an hour or more. I begged her and begged her and begged her to come out of the bathroom, but she couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. Just then, when I was getting ready to get up, leave, and go back to my apartment, she hollered from the bathroom, "And whatever you do, Bobbi, don't you dare tell your father about this gay thing, or I won't ever be able to live with the man." So I drove back to my apartment, beside myself with grief for disappointing my mother. And that night I cried, and I cried some more, and I prayed a lot too, not knowing what else to do. It was the loneliest night of my life. I was also just so perplexed. What the heck about being gay is that upsetting? I hadn't been in a car wreck. I wasn't doing drugs. Hadn't said anything hateful. Hadn't robbed a bank. The thought that I was a sexual deviant never actually occurred to me. Anyway, to make sense of the drama, I determined that my mother must have felt betrayed that I hadn't told her sooner, or that she wasn't in on my relationship of 3.5 years. But regardless, breaking my mother's heart that day made it by far the worst day of my life, and to this day it remains so. Desperate for resolution, the very next evening I worked up the courage to go over to my parents' house to try to talk things out, or even just smooth things over so we could move on. As I approached their door, I looked down at the key in my hand, but I was afraid to use it to let myself in, as I always had. I didn't know if I was even welcome there anymore. So I actually knocked on their door for the first time in my life, the house I'd grown up in. My head was down in shame, my tail tucked between my legs, like I'd done something very wrong. Much to my surprise, my mom flung open the door and with open arms gave me a big hug and a kiss and said, "You're just in time for dinner, honey." She was a regular Donna Reed. But never a word from the previous day's episode was mentioned that night. Or the next day either. Or the next. Or the next. Or for the next 6 years. Life went on as usual, just like I'd never come out. My mom and I were still close, but the gay subject was clearly taboo. So after taking my first big step out of the closet, I pretty much just stepped backwards, right back into it. Some 6 years later, I ran into my mom at the grocery store on just a normal random day, as I only lived 1.5 miles away from them. It was a pleasant surprise to see my mom there, since she rarely shopped in that store. But to this day, I wonder what came over her. When she spotted me, she had this glimmer of love in her eye, and pride too, that I hadn't seen for a very long time. She grabbed me in the store and hugged me tight in the produce section and whispered in my ear that she loved me more than I would ever know, and that she loved me just the way that I was. I was surprised and delighted, and I'll admit I was a little weirded out. Then came the caveat. She was sure in that moment to reiterate, I should never tell my father about this. In fact, she grabbed me by the shoulders, pulled me close, made me look her in the eyes, and promised her I would never tell him. I looked her in the eyes, I promised her, and I never did tell my dad. You know, it's a funny thing about promises. Sometimes they really do need to be broken for the betterment of all parties. My dad died at 86, just 7 years ago. He was part of my life to the end, and he knew many things about me. He understood a lot of what made me tick because we were similarly sensitive in nature. We also had a bond because I no doubt inherited my father's playfulness and sense of humor, and we loved to laugh about the craziest things. But regrettably, my dad never knew the essence of me, and I never understood the fear in him. I didn't ask him, this is the part that's hard for me to get through. I didn't ask him to give me away at my wedding. I never invited my dad to my wedding. I would regularly pull our wedding picture down off the wall when my parents would come to our house for a visit. Though our wedding was the best day of my mother's life because she was invited. She was also very grateful that picture wasn't on the wall. I would bury it in the back room until they were gone. Tricia, my wife, hated that. Of course she did. It's a funny thing about being in the closet. You tend to drag others into it with you. I still don't know how to feel about my mother for asking me to keep this secret from my dad, or if I should just be angry at myself for not pushing back on the request. My mother was no doubt doing what she felt was best and right and trying to protect herself and me too. And it actually gave me a reason not to disclose. I never did want to tell my dad, as I was certain he would do something crazy if he found out, or just make my life a living hell. Remember, my dad hated gayness. How could he ever reconcile his love for me with the fact that I was a lesbian? Sadly, I'll never know, because I never gave him the chance. You know, it's a funny thing, deciding for others what they can and cannot handle. You end up robbing them and holding yourself hostage. When my dad died, I was 56. And as much as I miss him, it was only when he died that I felt 100% free. I no longer felt the need to hide from anybody. Not him, not my relatives on Thanksgiving Day, not my parents' bunco friends, not my parents' neighbors or church friends or my mom's best friend Peggy, who I'd known all my life, or her kids or her kids' kids. You get the drift, right? I loved both of my parents, and I understand that no parent and nobody is perfect. And today I have only myself to reckon with, and I admit I made mistakes. I could have done better, and I should have been braver. And I know there's some out there that say, don't shit on yourself, but I think you should sometimes, so I'm going to shit on myself. The way I see it is that being deeply spiritual means that we have to continually accept the challenge, and it is a challenge, to be our most authentic selves, even when it's hard. Only then do we give others the opportunity to rise to the occasion, to accept their challenge to be their most authentic selves and deeply spiritual selves. By not being out, I chose something less than my authentic self. Then my mother chose something less than her authentic self, and my dad never even had a chance to become his best loving self. It's a domino effect, and it's the antithesis of being spiritual people. It's like we were all in our own closets of shame and denial. I hope you take away from my story that the work of true love is loving others for who they genuinely are and not who you want them to be. And just as important is being your authentic self, even when it takes more courage than you think you can muster, because it's worth it. It's the spiritual work of true self-love. And lastly, I just want to express my deep gratitude for this loving and accepting spiritual community that we have. Give yourselves a hand because you're awesome. And thank you for not making me keep any secrets. So that's it. Now it's time for our offering. Todd.
Good morning. My name is Todd Sirrine, and I go by he, him pronouns. And I'll be reading our offering words by Victoria Weinstein. We say in our church that the offering is a sacrament of the free church. What we mean by that is that we believe it is a blessing to be able to govern and support our religious community ourselves, to make it possible by our generosity, everything we dream of and do to live out our shared values.
Truth runs wild like a tear down a cheek, and try to save face and daddy heartbreak. I'm lying through my teeth. This voice inside has been eating at me, trying to replace the love that I fake with what we both need. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh,
without changing a part of me. How do I get to heaven? How do I get to heaven?
I think we should cut the song. I think we should cut the song. It's terrible.
We got off.
Okay, follow me. Ready? Start with the chorus. We need to back out on the rhythm a little fast. Without losing a piece of me, how do I get to heaven? Without changing a part of me, how do I get to heaven? All my time is wasted, feeling like my heart's mistaken. Oh, so if I'm losing a piece of me, maybe I don't want heaven. Still a little slower. Here we go. Oh, 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 oh. The truth runs wild like the rain to the sea. Trying to set straight the lines that I tries to find some release. The voice inside has been eating at me, trying to embrace the picture I paint and color me free. Without losing a piece of me, how do I get to heaven? Without changing a part of me, how do I get to heaven? All my time is wasted, feeling like my heart's mistaken. Oh, so if I'm losing a piece of me, maybe I don't want heaven. Oh, 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 oh. So I'm counting to 15, counting to 15, counting to 15. So I'm counting to 15, counting to 15, counting to 15. So I'm counting to 15, counting to 15, counting to 15. So I'm counting to 15, counting to 15, counting to 15. Without losing a piece of me, how do I get to heaven? Without changing a part of me, how do I get to heaven? All my time is wasted, feeling like my heart's mistaken. Oh, so if I'm losing a piece of me, maybe I don't want heaven. Truth runs wild like a tear down a cheek, trying to save face and daddy heartbreak and lying through my teeth. This voice inside has been eating at me, trying to replace the love that I have faith with, but what we both need.
Hello, my name is Sol Oglesby-Dunegan, and our closing words today were written by Cricket Hall. May the drag stage, too short for this. May the drag stage rise to meet you. May the world rise to accept and embrace you. May the rainbow of love enfold you. May your fluidity never be hindered. May your pronouns be supported and your dead name forgotten. May those who invite you into your life remain loyal. May your chosen family lift you up and catch you when you need it. May you be able to catch others when they need it. May you remember sensitivity is not weakness, but instead a great strength welling up inside you. Until we meet again, may you remember that you are loved and that you are divine.
So for our closing song, we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to do the UU version of an altar call. We're going to call it a chalice call. So if you've been moved by the service today and you want to make today the day that you come out for the first time, we invite you to come forward and sing the song with us. Further, if you are out and queer and you consider yourself to fall into this community, we would like you to come up and sing this last song with us. And then finally, if you're the family of an LGBTQ person, we would like you to come up and sing the last song with us. You'll get a button, like mine, and a mask, so we can all sing, "I'm Coming Out."
I got to let it show. Coming out. I'm coming. Oh, yeah. I'm coming out. And I'm coming. Oh, I'm coming out. Yeah. I want the world to know. I got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. I got to let it show. I'm coming out. Last one. I want the world to know. I got to let it show. Here we go. Last one now. And I'm coming out. I want the world to know. I got to let it show. I'm coming out.
I need to make an announcement. The UU Jazz is going to meet this afternoon right after the service too. It's a public policy advocacy group at the UU, and they'll meet on the patio. You're all welcome, but don't forget the immigration group also meeting at the same time.
Are we ready? Yep. All right, guys, we're ready to extinguish the chalice. Here we go. Though we extinguish the chalice, our community with each other and this community remains. May the light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world until we meet again. Thank you all. Coming out, and I just had to leave, and I just want